I made you a host. You can make me a
Thank you.
co-host.
I'll make you
You're welcome.
co-host quickly. Make you co-host. Yep, there we go. You are co-host. There we go. I see Jackie Little is in class. We should have 6 people in class for this one. I'm not sure if they'll all come in, but let's wait and see if they come in. Oh, 2. Here comes Terry. Ah, hi, Jackie. Lovely to see you. Hi, Terry. Lovely to have you back. Excellent. You're on mute, Terry. Oh, there we
Hi.
go. Hi, lovely to have you back in class. That's
Thank you. Good to be
awesome.
here.
And lovely to have you, Jackie, as well. Nice to have you back. Joining us again. Excellent. We are due to have a few more, so we'll just hang on a minute or two before we start sharing our bucket lists. But an interesting thing about bucket lists is sometimes something on your bucket list is incredibly small, but it's just as important as something that is big that's on your bucket list.
Right.
Jackie, when did you start your bucket list?
You said Jackie? When did I start?
Jackie. Yeah, Jackie.
I have no idea. I don't know. And I haven't really been looking at what I did when I did do it. And I got it on this computer somewhere, but don't ask me where. So I'm like starting again right now. But one thing I can think about right now that I want to put on the bucket list, but I better wait to tell me when to do that part, right?
No, you can tell me a little bit quickly.
Oh, well, a new car before.
A new car.
One more car before I'm 66 years old. So one more car before I call for the Lord call me home. I'll be happy. A new car, newer car.
Fantastic. And Terry, when did you start your bucket list?
I don't know that I ever started it.
Well, today you can start thinking about things that you might want to put onto a bucket list. And so we will be looking at those. I think it's 11:02. I think I'll start sharing my screen so that we can begin, because it's going to be a very much an a chat session between us. So that is what's awesome. So many people put really big things on their bucket list when they're younger, great things that they want to be able to do as they go through their life. And then as you get older, you keep adding to that bucket list, because as I'll tell you in a minute about bucket lists. Right, just a little bit about, we all know about this, so I don't have to labor on it. That we need to keep our cameras on is great. And if you want a recording afterwards and help it get set up, those joining by live streaming, you can't partake, so you need to join us. You both know me well, living in Perth with Michael and having taught for so many years and loving to make things and do things and chat to people. I really enjoy doing that. When I was younger, I certainly did not. I was incredibly shy. Go into a room of people I didn't know, I would rather die. But being a teacher, you soon learn that you can't do that. So you overcome that initial shyness. Although still, if I go into a room of people I don't know, I gravitate to a corner and I'll observe far more than just interacting with people. So being here on Get Set Up is something, a kind of challenge for me in a funny way, because I meet new people all the time, but there's always a friendly face there and it just relaxes me. And of course, having a TA that you know and trust also makes all the difference. Today we've got James with us, and he's a great TA. He's always putting little bits in the chat box about things. So it really is great. Thank you, James, for being part of it with us. So, all right, now our agenda today is what is still on your bucket list before you kick that bucket over. So you've got to make sure that your bucket stays full, because as long as your bucket's full, you are still got lots to do in this life. So we're going to talk about when we started our bucket lists, simple bucket list ideas, because that's something we often forget. We have the big bucket lists, but simple little things are also important. And then what's on your bucket list? I'll explain my bucket list and then hopefully hear all the wonderful things on your bucket lists. So before we do the simple bucket list, let's see. We've spoken a few minutes ago about when you started, and Terry, you said you don't think you've started one. Jackie can't remember hers. I must admit, I think I probably started 50,000 bucket lists along the way, then lost the paper or the diary or the whatever I had put them into. And so now Michael and I, we have a virtual bucket list, and with the pandemic, we've been able to go and look at some of the things that we thought we might like and go, maybe not, or wow, yes, that we definitely would like to see or do a lot. And so our bucket list is fluid. It's constantly changing. Things are being tossed because they're not practical, and other things are being added that we think might be practical now. So let's continue with the simple bucket list. A simple bucket list is something that, as I said, we often forget. For instance, how about buying a cup of coffee, buying a coffee for somebody that is standing behind you in the queue for their coffee, and they might, or buying something for somebody that's in front of you. You can see they're counting out every penny so that they can pay for the one little thing they've got there. Just say to the cashier, look, just add it to mine and let the person go. You just do it quietly, and you say to them, they say, no, yeah, here you keep your money for today. This is your person behind you has paid for it already. Just a little something. You don't have to make a fuss about it, but it's a lovely little pay it forward for things that have been done for you. I had many people do wonderful things for me when I had a problem and went into having nothing. And amazing people stepped up, and just little acts of kindness until I was back on my feet and able to continue were a saving grace for me. And so for me to pay onwards instead of backwards is a great thing, because the people who did it for me don't need something at the moment, but somebody else maybe does, maybe somebody you don't know. So I don't know if either of you've seen the movie Pay It Forward. Have you seen that movie?
Yes.
I have
Yeah,
not.
it's an old movie, but wow, it's what I always did, but it really sort of reinforced. It shows a little boy learning, having a project of paying it forward to other people. That was his social science project, but it's a very beautiful movie. And if you haven't seen it, Jackie, it might be an idea to see it. Did you enjoy it, Terry?
Yes, it was good. I've seen it a couple times.
Yeah, me too. I've also watched it a few times because it really is such a beautiful movie. And it really brings home how a little act of kindness, random one, can make such a difference. Hi, Janice. Nice to have you back in class. Awesome. Lovely to see you again. All right. Now, Janice, we've just started talking about small bucket list ideas, not the very big ones, but these are little ones that we might add to our bucket. So the first one we said was buying coffee for the person in the line behind you or in front of you, if you feel so inclined. Buy a plane ticket once we can start flying. That for me is very important because I haven't seen my grandchildren in South Africa, and one is nearly 3 and the other one is nearly a year, and I'm granny in the phone, and it's all very well on Zoom and so on to see them, but to actually go and hug them and cuddle them, something very special that I'm looking forward to one day. Pick flowers, put them in your house, put them in next to your bed, make it so that it's something you can look at. Paint a picture. Now, a lot of you are going to say, I can't paint. Well, I'll tell you something that is so interesting and worth trying. If you get a piece of card or you get a canvas, and then you take paint with your fingers, and I've done it with different shades of blue and then white. And you take your fingers and you swirl them round. It makes the most amazing wave effect. And so you can make a seaside scene with this curved wave that's coming in. And then you can, with your fingers, just make little dappled water in the front. So you don't use a paintbrush at all. And you play around with blues and whites and then add a little bit extra in and run your fingers again. And it's very satisfying using your fingers. And you end up with a really beautiful picture. I didn't think it would, quite honestly, but it did. And so you don't have to be a fantastic artist. You can be a Picasso or you can be a finger painter, and you can still create amazing things. So I thought, write a journal. Some people do, some people don't, but often just putting things down on paper just alleviates whatever is worrying you along the way. Write a poem. It doesn't have to rhyme. It can just be a lyrics of something that, so you don't have to think, oh, how do I rhyme this? It's not actually necessary to rhyme it. Do something you're afraid of, something you've always not wanted to do because you're a little scared of it. Put it on your bucket list so that you can do it. Give blood, walk along the beach. A very important one, write a letter to your future self, yourself in 5 years' time, yourself in 10 years' time. My husband will do it for 30 years' time. He wants to be over 100 by that stage, so he'll write it to himself then. And so write a letter to your future self, telling your future self what you've done in life, what you expect to do in life, things like that, and actually go back and look at it in the future. One of the people in class, when she was at a university, in their very first year, they had to write their obituary. And she said at the time she found it really hard, but she still got it. And she still goes back and reads it and sees whether she actually succeeded in doing the things that were written in her obituary. And I thought that was such an interesting thing that somebody made them do. Read a classic novel, feed an expired meter, not necessarily your own. Make a time capsule and keep adding to it year by year with the year and why you've put it in there. So that when in a few years' time you go back and look, you'll remember some amazing things that happened to you along the way. If you are so inclined, dance on a bar or say, I love you to people. So often you take it for granted. They know you love them. But even your friends, say to them, I actually love you as a friend, because I don't think, say it enough. So has anybody got any of these ideas that they'd like to try, or others to add to the simple ones?
I wrote some of those down. Are you going to send that in the thing at the end?
I can, yes, certainly.
Okay.
I'll send that in the end.
Because I like
you.
some of those I read there. Okay.
Which one did you like, Jackie?
The one you're just talking about, right?
No, but which particular ones on there did you like?
Oh, write a letter to my future self.
Mm-hmm.
write a poem, which I did try to write something one time when I was taking some classes, but I haven't done it. And I think I might like to get writing. And I saw a writing class on here I might want to take too. I'm proud of. And I want to do liturgical dance.
Uh-huh,
I do want to do that.
nice. Fantastic. And Terry, what have you got any to add to that, or there's some that you like there?
Probably simple things would be to get some flowers. I've done the coffee in line or going through the drive-through restaurant and paying for the car behind you. That's fun, and you don't know what the response is.
Yeah, no, you have no
You're
idea.
gone.
Yeah, but but it still gives you a good feeling, regardless of whatever. You've just done that for them. That's I agree. I've done that a few times as well, and it's just a feeling. I've got that little extra today. Let me share it with somebody else.
Right.
And I think it's an awesome thing to do. And Janice, have you got any things that you would like small things to add to the bucket list? You're on mute at the moment.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'd like to take a college course and long-term try to finish my degree.
Wow, what a lovely thing. Now, what degree did you start?
It's a general studies in social science administration and health.
Very nice. Wow, that is awesome. I hope that is going to happen. You put it up somewhere where you can see it regularly, put it on the fridge, because it is quite amazing how just by seeing it, it attracts it, it pulls it towards you. We had a funny thing happened before we moved to Australia. We came to visit and we were asked to come and stay by my son. And we thought, yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. And the following year, I came back on my own and I took pictures all around of places that maybe we would like to stay in. And while I was there, we went to a park. I took the children to a park there was a function on at the park, and it was such a beautiful park. And I took pictures in the park, and I got back to Michael, and I said to him, we've got to have a place that's near a park. And Australia is wonderful. Within 500 meters of every home, there is a park. So I particularly liked this park and didn't think anything more of it, but those pictures were up on my board. And believe it or not, when I walk out of my front door now, I walk straight into that park.
Oh,
and
wow.
This was something I didn't know that when I rented the house, because I looked at it online first. And even when I looked at the house, I didn't kind of take any notice of the park, because there's some bush in front of between our little pathway going into our home and the park. And then when we went for a walk, I looked at this and went, but this is the park in the picture. And there it was the park in the picture. It was the same park. So, it's quite amazing how I attracted that park when I was looking for a home because I came ahead of Michael, and then he joined me 2 months later. And so it's amazing how those sort of things do happen. How many of you would like to make a time capsule? Can be a shoebox. A shoebox.
That doesn't interest me.
That doesn't interest you. Now, interesting, one of the things that my son's girlfriend, her daughter's 12, and for Mother's Day, she gave her mum almost something like a time capsule. And in it were all these little Post-it notes, and every one of them was something that she remembered that her mum had done for her or with her that was special to her. And she got this little package of these wonderful notes of things that were special to her daughter about her. And that's something that she will keep forever, because it really explained, and this little girl writes so beautifully too. And so it really was something amazingly special. So that would go in a time capsule, that it was so special. All right. Now, just thinking about my own things that I would like to do in the next few years, along the way, next 10 years, is I like to collect moments, not necessarily things. So a moment of meeting up with my grandchildren for the first time is going to be something that I will cherish forever. I've always wanted to see the Northern Lights. And
Yeah.
I discovered the
too.
other day, I don't have to go to the Northern Lights. There are the Southern Lights. And you can see the Southern Lights from Australia, certain parts of Australia, New Zealand, and Antarctica. And these lights are almost identical to the Northern Lights. So I don't have to travel quite so far in order to have this amazing experience. Michael and I love to cruise, but not necessarily long days out to sea, rather something like up the Rhine, round about Christmas time. Christmas is my birthday, and there's a cruise where you stop at all the little towns where they have a Christmas market. Now, for me, that looks like something so interesting, where you can go into all these beautiful little markets and maybe gather some things together. So that would be something that's on our bucket list. Zip lining as an idea. One of my bucket list things didn't work out too well. A year ago, but just before the pandemic, in fact, it was like a week before everything came crashing down, we went to Bali because I have to leave for my visa every 3 months until my parental visa comes through. And so we went off to Bali, and Michael's daughter and her husband joined us. And one of the things on my bucket list was to do some quad biking. So the one day we went off quad biking, but it had been raining and the
Oh.
path was muddy. And there was a ditch, and I didn't see it because it was full of mud, and my bike tipped and it threw me right off, and I went down a cliff, or sort of a drop of about 2 meters, and my bike followed behind me. Off this. It didn't land on me. It stopped just before me, but I hurt I pulled all the muscles on my shoulders, and I went to hospital, and they said, oh, maybe a hairline fracture of your ribs, because I said my ribs were really sore. 2 months later, when I went for my visa to have an x-ray, they said, when did you break 3 ribs? I said, February. And when she showed me the picture, there were 3 complete breaks of my ribs. So no wonder I was in pain. So that was one of my bucket lists that didn't work out too well. I don't think I'll be doing that one again. I've always wanted to do a balloon ride. I thought when I was 40, my children might just give it to me. Then when I was 50, I thought, oh, maybe then. When it got to 60, still nothing. So before I'm 70, I will go on a balloon ride. It is the one thing I really want to do. In Africa, it was beautiful to go up and you could see the animals. Here in Australia, I think it's going to be equally beautiful because there's all sorts of fantastic vegetation and things to see, particularly along the coast. So that's one more. And then the last thing, you probably in America are going to laugh at me, but of course, living in the Southern Hemisphere, we don't have much snow. You have to go into the mountains to find snow. And so I think if I've seen snow 5 times in my life, it's a lot. And what Michael and I would like to do is to find a cabin in the snow where we can be snowed in for a couple of days, as long as we've got food, good books, a roaring fire, some wine to drink, good food. We would be very happy to be snowed in for a few days. You, on the other hand, probably say, oh, no, no, no. So those are the things that are on my bucket list. Wide and varied, very wide, very varied. So let's have a look and see what have you got on your bucket lists. Jackie, you spoke about a car. What else is on your bucket list? Big
Um,
and small.
I would like to go on a cruise. I've never done that. On a
Fantastic.
cruise.
Hmm.
And I don't know, since I'm a single person now, I don't know, but I would like to travel, but I don't want to know if I want to travel by myself or not, though.
Well, there's one of the guides. She does traveling solo. Her name's Christine, and she does a lovely class on Get Set Up on traveling solo.
Okay.
And so maybe have a look at that and see about traveling solo because,
Yeah.
yes, as we get older, we do travel solo. I traveled solo for quite some time on my own before I met Michael. I met him only when I was nearly 60. So I was on my own for quite some time and
Yeah.
then met up with him. So and since then we've been particularly happy for the last, I think it's 8 years now we've been
Okay.
together. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
been amazing. And what else would you like to do?
Oh gosh.
If you want to think about it
Yeah,
for a
let me
few,
think some more.
you know, we have a bucket list and we have a soul list, things that we would really like to do within ourselves as well. And Terry, what would you like to have on your bucket list?
Well, you had a couple of them on yours. The Northern Lights would be
Uh-huh.
one. And though I'm in the States, I'm in California, so I don't have the snow. I wouldn't mind that little cabin you had up in your corner. I can just see it so vividly. Up in the Adirondack Mountains, which is in upstate New York. So, which is I'm from that area, so
Okay.
that wouldn't be too much of a stretch. But I don't want to stay with the family. You know, you have to go
No, no.
someplace.
Yeah, go somewhere on your own, somewhere special on your own, definitely.
Mhm.
Okay. And
And
anything else?
one of my other all-time favorite places to visit is Yosemite,
Hmm.
and that's on the West Coast. I guess it's kind of Central California, and it's in the mountains. You'll have to look. You'll have to look that up on your Google Earth. Now
I
that
will
is
look it
something
up
to
on my
see.
Google Earth. I will. I'll
Mhm.
look up on that. Excellent. I will certainly look up on that and see that. It sounds amazing.
The mountains and the meadows and the waterfalls.
Okay, yeah, sounds amazing. I will definitely have a look at that because there are so many amazing places. I'm choosing a different place for the next. I'm going to probably have 3 or 4 places that I do when I do road trips. So my next road trip, I will choose a different place to go and visit of the different of the places that I've visited before. All right, and Janice.
I'd like to get a dog,
Uh-huh.
and I use a wheelchair, so a big wheelchair, so it's kind of going to be hard trying to figure out what size dog. The little dogs really love me, but I can't reach them too well. So
But
probably a
they'll
medium
jump
size
up.
to large.
They'll jump up. They'll sit
They'll
on your lap.
So I'd like to get a dog, and I'd like to go back to England. I lived there when I was a child, and I really would love to spend some time in England.
Whereabouts in England would you like to go to?
Winchester, that's where I
Winchester.
lived.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Ah, beautiful, beautiful area.
yeah.
Mm. I want to go to Wales. I've been to London and England quite a lot. I suppose in the back of my mind, I'd like to go to the Bannatyne Islands in Scotland to see where my mum comes from. She came from
Oh,
those islands, and her surname is from the islands. So possibly see where my heritage, or my adopted heritage, comes from. I don't have a heritage; I have an adopted heritage comes from. So that would possibly be a place also to go. And I've always loved the history of Egypt. It's always fascinated me, the Egyptian history. But I think going and wandering through the desert to just look at a pyramid, there must be other ways. I think it virtually I will make it okay for me. I'm not a great person of going through the desert. I've done some desert trips before, so yeah, I think I might change my mind with that one. And anything else that you can think of that you'd like to?
I want to ride a camel.
You want to ride a camel?
Yes.
Awesome. Ah, I did in Dubai. It was very scary. It was, I suppose, like riding an elephant. It was actually probably a little easier because if you've got the two humps, you kind of fit between, and that so you can. But when they stand up, they're very gentle in the way they stand up and move, and they move in a very elegant way. If they're not racing, if they're racing, then they kind of look like all legs and nothing else. But when they're walking, very, very gentle. Well, that's a lovely thing to have as a goal. I hope you've got the picture of a camel up somewhere. So that
Somewhere.
it's constantly reminding you. On the fridge is the perfect place. Put a dog on your fridge, constantly there, and you look at it and you decide. We acquired two dogs by divorce, not ours, and we have these two little French bulldogs. They're not the prettiest dogs, but they're very cute, and they've got very cute personalities as well. And they love to jump on your lap if given half a chance. So maybe a lap dog would be a good idea, Janice. It can sit on your lap in the wheelchair. A poodle. There's a man who here in Perth, Australia, in his wheelchair, and he's got his dog. It's a black poodle. And they catch the bus, they do everything together. And whenever there's anything that's needed, dog pops on his lap and then off he goes. If it's in the shopping center, dog's on his lap, because it's regarded as okay for him to have a dog in the shop. And this dog just sits, it's as good as gold, and he does what he needs, and then off they go again. And they catch the train, they catch the bus, they do everything together. It is
Wow.
absolutely amazing. And this poodle poodles are very clever dogs. They learn
Yes, they
very
are.
quickly to do what you want or what you require them to do.
Yeah.
So, James, what would you like to say?
Well, so can you please look into the chat? I put a virtual tour of Winchester for Janice.
Ah,
Okay,
wonderful.
so
There
Thanks,
we
James.
are.
you're
Yes.
welcome.
And traveling solo for Jackie. It's in the chat box for you as well.
Okay.
Excellent. James, is there a virtual tour of Yosemite as well? Can you look and see if there's a virtual tour of Yosemite?
Y-O, I'll spell it.
There we go. Yes, there's a lovely one of the virtual tour of Control C. I think, James, if you can put it into the main chat box as well.
Already did it.
Super.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, super.
Thank you.
Lovely. So you see, this is what is so nice. We get all, and James is wonderful. He listens and he goes researching while we are talking. And I'm sure if there is one of Yosemite, we'll be able to find that as well. So we can certainly go virtual touring around places and see things. I'm just wondering if, let's just see, did I put it up or didn't I? Let's see. Virtual tour. Watch it on YouTube. There we are. A visit of Winchester. Virtual tour. So, wow.
And Rick
They've got
Steves is good.
Sorry.
Rick Steves from PBS here. All of his shows are on video on YouTube.
Fantastic. So that all makes such a difference so that we can, if at the moment, not go places, but we can certainly find. There we are, a virtual tour of Yosemite as well. That is awesome. So I will certainly add that one to my going on a tour, on a road trip. I will find that as part of road trips. So I will definitely add that to road trips. Oh, sorry, hold on. This came alive. Let's just close it quickly. That one came alive on its own into my ears when I clicked on Yosemite. So we've had some really good ideas as to what we can and do along the way. And we do need to also think about the things that we really want from within, things that we might not even share with others, that are our special thing that we would like to do. Now, here are just some fun ones before we look at the most important thing of all, is to do something nice for a stranger, like we did with the coffee, but maybe something else. Ask someone to dance, someone that you don't even know. If you enjoy dancing, ask someone to dance with you and have a go at dancing along the way. Um, and finish a crossword. How often do we start a crossword and then you get distracted? That's my worst. I get distracted and I come back to these half finished, because I love puzzles and logic puzzles and things like that. And I come back to these half finished things and why did I leave that? I didn't finish it. And then I have to go back and see what it was to finish it. Be a tourist in your own city. How often have you not actually seen all the little places around your city? I'm doing a welcome to Perth next Friday morning, and I have been here 3 years, and I've done more in the 3 years than my son, who's been here for 10 years, has done. I've seen more places than he has, because you just get into a rut of work and weekend and work and weekend and weekend you the shopping and doing things for the kids and so on and so forth. And so I've managed to see and do a variety of things that he hasn't even done. For example, going to the aquarium. The aquarium in Perth goes under the sea. You actually have a restaurant under the sea where you sit and eat, and the fish are swimming above you. And they are the natural fish in the sea. They're not brought in a tube or anything like that. We are out under the sea. So we actually were due to go there, and then we had a 1 week lockdown. That was just over that time. So we're going again in a few weeks' time. You can make a playlist of your favorite songs, and then you can travel intercity, interstate, or between continents, or even into outer space. I'd love to go into outer space and look at the Earth from above. Not necessarily stay out there very long, but just have the experience of looking at our beautiful green and blue planet from a completely different perspective. Last but most of all, enjoy life, whatever you do. Enjoy every minute of your life, because things change all the time. There are so many fun little things. There's a Wanderlust. Tour your own city. Thank you, James. James has got a whole. I will put these into my email for you as well. I will attach them to the email so that you can look at those ones as well. So they are nicely available for that. Right. So now, one of the things that people often think about when they are young, they think that things that they mainly think of the very big bucket list things that are going to cost a fortune. And I think as we go older, we realize that there's not only we don't have the fortune, but also there are just as many little things like we did on our original bucket list grouping that we had. And I think really we should think more of the smaller bucket lists, simple little things that can be achieved in a week, achieved in 2 weeks, maybe achieved in a month. Learn a hobby. And Janice, with your dog, now you've got that dog on your mind. Start researching your dogs, seeing which kind of dog would. There's lots of information on the internet as to which kind of dog is the best one for people with wheelchairs. So find that out and read up about, see what nature dog you're looking for. See what you're really thinking of that you would like and have. Then from that, you can make an informed decision. And then, of course, you just see the cute little face, and any of them will do. But, but
Well,
really,
in our town, we're required to pick up after the dog or it's a $250 fine. So that's why I have to wonder about what size dog I get.
right. We have to also pick up after our dogs. We're kind of fortunate. We have a forest nearby and we walk in the forest, and I've trained the dog to go into the forest. They don't do it on the path. So that has helped a lot. But you do get those little picky uppy arms. Oh, I must remember I've got a virtual background now. That a grabber. So you just, it opens and closes with your hand. It's like a little spade, and it can
Oh.
grab, and it's very easy. So it won't actually matter too much, the size, because you can pick it up with the grabber, and then
Oh.
you can just pop it in the doggy bags that you take with you everywhere you go. I've got a little bone which is attached to the lead, and it's got a whole roll of doggy bags in it. Although in our parks, they actually provide you with doggy bags. There's a place
Oh.
there, a place to get the doggy bag as you come into the doggy park. There are lots of beaches and parks that are dog friendly. And they actually call them dog parks and dog beaches. So you know
Mm.
that your dog is very welcome there.
Yeah.
Right. Terry, what's the one thing you're going to go and think about seriously?
Well, actually, I've been working with Michael about getting my own dog. So I've been researching that. So I guess that's number one on my bucket list.
Fantastic. So you and Janice must compare notes as to how your little dogs are going and what they're doing and so on. So definitely the two of you need to go and really that is your focus on it and actually achieve it. Then you can tick it off that list and then head for the next most important thing on your list, together with lots of little ones in between, because you
Right.
always got a big one in the middle, but then there's lots of little things that you can achieve. Being able to screw in the light bulb correctly is one of my ones that I always cross thread, even though I'm a technology teacher for children, and that's not IT. It's a hands-on thing. I inevitably start cross threading it, and then I've got to work it out. And if I could do it just once, I've mastered which way you turn on and off water and things like that. When I was married before, it was a difficult time, and I'd get shouted at if they said turn on and I turned off, and I'd become all flustered as to which way to turn that tap, to turn it on and turn it off. And then my young son said to me, Mom, remember, L, your left hand says L. When you hold it up, it is an L. And so whenever, and left means that you turn it off. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. So left is turning it on, right is turning it off. And after that, that mantra stayed with me, lefty loosey, righty tighty. And I never have a problem with that. So it crossed off my bucket list. It sounded a silly thing, but it was an important thing. So lefty loosey, righty tighty, and I've now got something off the list. It sounds crazy, but it's fun. Yeah, there are lots of places around Perth that I would still want to go and see. So I will certainly have those on our bucket list while WA is closed off to the rest of the world. So there are lots of things. So Janice, and then Jackie, yours is the car, right?
But that's the big
Or,
thing.
and the
Maybe in
small
the,
thing?
that's the big thing. Small thing, I'm not sure. I kind of got, since I've been thinking more, I'd like to go to seminary maybe.
Oh,
Study the
good.
Bible and stuff. So I thought about that too. So I just added something else to the list. So I got to
I-
get my mind on where to start. You know what I'm saying? But small thing, maybe write a poem or something like that. Maybe I don't know. Because I did it when I was taking some classes. They made us write a poem, and I did it. And I was proud of what I'd done. I'd never done it since then. So maybe I think I'm trying to write a poem because I like doing things with my hand. I like to do crafty things. And see, I'm a widow, so I don't, it's just me. I don't have anybody to worry about but myself. My husband passed away 4 years ago. So it's me. I can do what I want. And I've done some things that I didn't think I would ever do since I become a widow. So that was a good thing. I mean, to learn to do things on my own. And I've been proud of some of the things I've done.
Ah, good. That's it. You know,
I painted
be
and stuff.
proud of
And
be
I tried to learn how
proud
to
of
use some
yourself.
tools and stuff. So I've done some stuff.
Excellent. Well, I've got a class which I'm still hasn't quite been finalized yet, but I know that it's coming in 2 weeks' time called Unusual Hobbies, like
Okay.
geocaching and train spotting and some really unusual hobbies that you
Okay.
can do. Some of them I didn't even know existed, and I'm certainly going to go and try some of them along the way because they sound actually very, very interesting. So that there are lots of interesting things to be done as we go along. So, right. Well, thank you everyone for being in class. I really do appreciate it. We've got so many new classes. Some of these have already disappeared off the radar. They'll come back again at some stage. But 60s Trivia is next week. Birds in My Garden, Encounters with Wildlife. It's the last week for those. And Fairy and Gnome Gardens for us. You can make the most beautiful fairy and gnome gardens for indoors and outdoors. And there really are some fun ideas and the plants to put in them that makes it nice for you to have plants indoors and plants outdoors. Right. And I'll send the class notes with all those links on it for you. And you can share ideas. I will send you some extra ideas. Any feedback or new classes you'd like to see, please put them on the feedback so that we can add classes to it as well. You can book a friend to join you and you can chat about it afterwards. And finally, anything you want to know, Help at Get Set Up is your first port of call. So let's have a look and see. Right, there's all Wanderlust in your own city as well. Great. Thank you, James, for all the bits that you've added to the class for us. And I will certainly be able to see those as we go along. Right. So, anybody got anything they'd like to say before we close? I hope you got at least one idea out of it from each other and from
Yeah.
that's great. That's the idea, is to add to your bucket list things that you never thought of and now suddenly going, oh, okay, maybe that might be nice. And I really hope to hear. In fact, when you get your dogs, I want photos. Please send to Liz Get Set Up. And I want to see those dogs that you are getting, both Terry and Janice. And when you
Okay.
get your new car, Jackie, I want to see that car too.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. The one person we didn't ask if he had something on his bucket list, and he's got to have something, is James. James, what's on your bucket list? I made him quiet.
I lost
James,
it.
you lost it. That's a cop out, James. That's a cop out.
Really, I have been listening all those bucket lists, and there's unfortunately I lost mine.
You lost yours. That's a cheat. Next time I'm going to ask you again. You better have found that bucket list. At least one thing for your bucket list. Well, thank you much, everybody. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being in class. Have a
Thanks.
lovely
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.